All right, Jillian Lewis, we're so excited to have you for the Reynolds and Reynolds interview today. And we would like to begin by, we've reviewed your resume. We would just love to hear that famous elevator pitch.
Great, yeah. So my name is Jillian Lewis, and in 2021, I'll be graduating from North Carolina State University with a business administration degree with a concentration in entrepreneurship and a minor in journalism. My short-term goal is to gain an internship where I can get some hands-on real-world experience, and my long-term goal is to work for a company that has a global mindset that plans to better the world with international connection and technological innovation.
Thank you. That's a wonderful fit with what we're looking for.
Right.
And as you know, in this position, we are interviewing 15 people today, and we're going to be, actually more than 15, we'll be picking 15 out of our big group. So we want to know why we should pick you. So what would you say are your top 3 strengths, and how could they help you succeed in this sales internship?
Yeah, so I would definitely say my top 3 strengths are communication, adaptability, and positivity. So communication will be great for this role because you're interacting with clients, you're interacting with your superiors, your coworkers, and to do that successfully is a really big part of the job, and I know I would be incredible at it. My second strength for adaptability would help me change to different environments. I know there's a lot of traveling with this position, so that helps me connect with other cultures and other people and individuals and be able to adapt to different climates. And positivity would definitely help because I think oftentimes positivity is mistaken for naivety, but I don't think that's the case. I think positivity is the ability to see both the good and bad of the world and choose to see the good and choose to do it with a smile. So I think I'd be an excellent candidate for this role.
So I would love to go back to something you just said, which was you think you would be excellent at communicating. Could you give an example of a time where you had to demonstrate your communication skills, what the situation was, how you acted, and then what the result was from your helping with the communication?
Yeah, so actually last evening I did a presentation, so I'm a part of NC State's Career Ambassadors group. So 3 of us are given a topic, ours was LinkedIn, and we have to do a 50-minute presentation that requires a lot of verbal communication and also interacting with individuals and being able to read the room. So if someone, for instance, is maybe not as extroverted, you have to be able to identify that and see that maybe I won't call on them to answer in front of the whole group, and I'll approach them and get them comfortable, get them engaged in a different way. So I think communication goes with the ability to see how people want to communicate and being able to be self-aware and knowing how you are demonstrating yourself and how others individuals would like to also be communicated.
So as a result of your presentation at what you called the launch presentation, what was the outcome?
So the outcome is that we had a really great turnout. We had a lot of individuals that were raising their hands and they were engaged. And so overall, I think I gained a greater ability to enhance my public speaking skills. So that's something that I've personally tried to work on throughout my years of living. And I think that I'm really honing on my ability to present to a room and have them engaged and leave having learned something.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. So one of the things that I want to ask you about now is the information about an example of some of the things we're seeking in this role. So we are looking for someone that is creative and innovative. If you could give an example of a time where you've demonstrated that competency and again, the outcome or result.
Absolutely. So in my first sales role, I was fresh out of high school. I didn't know anything and I decided to go to Australia for a year. So the first role that I was working for was a sales representative for Hunter Bailey Marketing, and I was promoted to team leader in my second week. So I didn't know anything about the logistics. I just knew how to connect with people, how to sell raffle tickets, which is what my position required. So taking on the team or taking on the role as team leader required me to be really innovative. And this one week, for example, my team was really struggling with hitting their sales. They were really just in their head about, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, I'm not doing it. And they were just so caught up in the fact that they were going through the motions and not achieving the results that they wanted, that I had them backtrack. And so I said, I got this idea from my team leader, and I sat them down in our morning meeting and I said, right, all I want you to do today is go out on the field and I want you to get me ingredients to bake a cake. And they were very confused by that. They had no idea. They thought I was crazy. But what I wanted them to gain from that was to not approach it with such a mindset that you can't do the job and also enjoy it. So they had to be fun with it. They had to walk in and say, by the way, do you have 2 eggs? And we hit the top number for sales that week. And so my team just did an incredible job. So it required me to be really creative and encourage them to step out of their comfort zone and ask for ingredients for a cake and also do their job. And the outcome was amazing.
Well, thank you. That is a fantastic example. And the next thing I want to ask you about, and you're alluding to it because you said you went to Australia by yourself, and that's very impressive to take that independent initiative. What is a risk that you've taken in your life? Tell us a little story about a risk.
So after I studied abroad this summer, I only bought a one-way ticket. So I was in Spain living with a host family for a month. And then I decided that I wanted to stay a little bit longer. So I had one friend that traveled with me for about a week. And then after that, she went back home. And then I decided I wanted to stay. So I booked a bus pass, I booked hostel accommodations, and I just took the risk that I would be okay. And what I found from that is because I was adaptable and because I was able to walk into a room not knowing anyone and be able to leave with friends, leave with people to travel with, get travel advice from, and have the best time and make amazing memories. And so that was definitely a big risk, and the outcome was that I enhanced my global fluency abilities and just connecting with other cultures.
Wow, that's wonderful. And we are looking for global fluency because we are an international company. Well, you're very impressive. I'm going to ask you to flip the coin now and tell me something that you need to work on.
Right. So in this same role for career ambassadors, when we're meant to give presentations, a feedback that I've always told every single time, well, in addition to saying you guys, I continue to say you guys, which is not gender fluid in the society that we live in today. We should be more appreciative of other genders, and instead of saying you guys, say you all, or change that up. So that's one weakness that I have when public speaking and presenting. And my other weakness is I'm really working on my ability to read the room. So that was my first presentation I ever gave. I'm extremely extroverted and I like to public speak and I like to say what's on my mind. And I had a hard time at first realizing that not everyone feels like that. And so I had to backtrack a lot and change the way that I'm a presenter and not just say, oh, let's hear your answer to someone that is shy and is just so uncomfortable with the situation. So I think my ability to read the room is something that I'm constantly trying to improve.
And that is wonderful that you are aware of the fact you're a work in progress and you're still growing. All right, fun question.
Okay.
You're leaving the interview today. You're getting in the elevator. You just did your pitch, but now you're going home. And the elevator all of a sudden freezes and you're stuck. Who would you most like to be stuck in the elevator with, living or dead?
Living or dead? That is a great question. So who would I like to be stuck with in an elevator, dead or alive? I would have to say that I would like to be stuck in an elevator with my favorite writer. His name is Charles Bukowski. So if you've heard of him before, he was not known for being a positive, bubbly, cheery guy. He was known for being a failing writer. So his entire life he went through and no one saw any potential in him. They told him that he was never going to be anything, that he was going to be lousy his entire life. And so he lived until he was 50, thinking that what everyone was telling him was his life. That's who he became. But when he turned 50, this independent editorial company took a liking to him and said, we would like you to write some things for our paper. And so he responded back and he said, I have 2 choices. One, I can either continue working at the post office and go crazy, or I can become a writer and starve. I choose to starve. So I think the boldness that he had and his ability to take a risk, and now he's sold millions of copies of his books. People read him to this day. My favorite quote by him is, find what you love and let it kill you, which sounds morbid, but I just love the idea of finding what you're passionate about and then allowing that to consume your life. It's just pursuing what makes you feel whole. So I think he did a really good job of that. So definitely have a couple questions for him.
Wonderful. I'll have to look that writer up. In life, we all have to bend our ethics a little bit. Can you tell me about a time when you had to compromise your principles and what the situation was?
Yes, definitely. So a time when I compromised my principles was when I was working as a team leader for that first sales job. And my boss pulled me aside and said, listen, this guy, his name was Arnold. He said, Arnold is really not giving the results that we want. We're going to have to let him go. And so a principle that I have is doing the right thing. And that comes with doing the right thing for my boss at the time. So I wanted to do what he said, but I also wasn't okay with letting him go because I saw a lot of potential in him, and he didn't hit his numbers, but he was always had a great attitude. He brought a lot of energy. And then when I walked around with him, when I showed him what to do, he was really good at learning and changing and adapting and being better than he was the day before. So unfortunately, my boss wasn't able to see that side of him. He just saw where he wasn't producing the numbers. So I compromised my loyalty to my boss to take him out for one last day. And I said, hey, if you don't hit this target, we have to let you go. But I really see a lot of potential in you, and I want you to try your best today. And he was the top salesman that day and just completely hit it out of the park. And so I pulled my boss aside and I said, listen, I really value being loyal to you and doing what you say, and I like to follow your rules, but he hit 10 sales today, which is double the amount of half your team. So I think we should let him stay. So I compromised my loyalty to my boss to allow that person to stay, and he did great. He stayed on for months. So.
And was your boss okay with that?
At first, he was hesitant. He was disappointed that I didn't do what he said. But when I talked to him and let him know that there was more potential that he wasn't able to see on just the numbers, on the logistics side of things, he eventually understood, and he was proud that I was able to step up and do what I thought was right. And he said that takes a lot of leadership. And so I think that was part of the reason why he kept me as a team leader for so long.
Thank you. Last question is, if your life was a Broadway musical,
okay,
and we needed to title what we were going to put on the kiosk, starring you, who would play you? You get to pick an actor, actress, whatever. And what would the title be?
So if I was to write a Broadway show about my life, I think my title would just keep it simple. Live more, do more, do more. There we go. And I believe that the best person for my role would be, I'll have to say Jennifer Aniston, because I think that she's very classy and she's handled her fame well, and she's done it starting from a young age, and even now she always does roles that I feel like push her out of her comfort zone and challenge her to take on a more advanced role than the last one. So I think she is a classy individual that does a lot of great things. So I would love for her to star in my Broadway show.
That is wonderful. Live more. What was the second part?
Live more, do more.
Do more.
Live more,
it's pretty
do
catchy.
More. Yeah.
I would absolutely go to see that. Let's give Jillian a hand. And before we turn off the camera, I'm going to give just a little bit of feedback, because one of the things we're doing is sharing how she did, and I hope you've written down feedback too. So I'm going to ask you all to share that in a moment. But here's some of the things I noticed. Mm-hmm. So on your elevator pitch, I thought you were well prepared, but I want you to have a little bit of that story in there, a little bit more punch with evidence.
Okay.
30 seconds, wow me. The next thing I liked about what you did is repeating the question. That gave you a little bit of time to think, but the elevator kind of stumped her. She was like, what? Who do I want to be stuck with? So rather than having an awkward silence, you actually gave yourself a little bit of time to process that. I also liked how you gave conclusions at the end. So it was clear to me when you were done talking, and you were kind of throwing the conversation back to me to say, and that's a time when I feel like I hit my sales goal and it's my turn to talk. I liked your eye contact. I noticed that you swiveled a little bit in the chair. That might have been because you were nervous. Yeah. And just a little stumble on one question where you were with the communication and you were like, how do I wrap this up?
Right.
And so that was one thing I noticed. So I would work on your flow. I would also notice that you seemed happy to be here. And you seemed like you had very strong examples. The cake story was wonderful about the ingredients for the cake. And thought on your feet, very spontaneous with Jennifer Aniston, although she's too old to play you.
Yeah, well,
so we would have to do a lot of makeup.
Forever.
You know, we'd have to make her look like she's 20. Is that how old you are?
Yes.
I think she's 40 something, don't you?
She would do a great job.
She's 50 now.
She's 50 now. So they do that on This Is Us, you know? They make them up to look like Mandy Moore is like 20 in one episode, then she's 50. Does anyone watch that? All right. So you should check it out. And the last thing I will say is I I think you gave results, but I had to push you on it. And so I want you to flow right in with your results.
Okay.
So those would be my specific things that I would say for you.